The supermarkets are awash with juicy offers on steaks.
Yes, and to make sure you make the most of your bargain cut, John is here with us today with some sizzling advice. Now, you can buy a steak, but you can also mess a steak up quite easily, John.
Do you know what? I'm going to try not to be negative about this, Ben. I want to say you can cook a steak really, really well very easily.
OK, better.
And I think that's the thing about it. And the thing is, once you understand what cuts are what and what they do.
Yes.
And so, in a supermarket steak, I've discovered actually now supermarkets do thick cut steaks. And I believe a thick cut steak is better because you can actually feed 2 or 3 people with it.
Yes.
Sure. So rather than thinking that everybody has a steak to themselves, because the thinner piece of steak, so I've got some here on the belt, and I've got a couple of different types.
Yeah.
I've got a rump.
Okay.
That's your love handles.
OK.
That's where it is. That's where the rump is on you. Then we've got a sirloin, which is sort of down the back bit.
OK.
Then we've got a ribeye, which goes up towards underneath the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then you've got a fillet, which actually sits on the inside of the rib cage and doesn't do any work. So a fillet's got no fat on it, really, really tender, and if you don't like a lot of flavour, that's where you go to. Ribeye has more flavour than anything else, quite a lot of fat on it, needs to be cooked to about medium. Then your rump, which is quite thin and it's got a little bit of chew to it, and then there's the sirloin.
OK.
Apparently knighted by King James because he loved it so much, it became the loin of the beef, so he knighted it sirloin. That's the story. Whether it's true or not, I'm not quite sure.
We love it. And what about this bad boy here?
And then this is a T-bone. T-bone, a steak with the bone in, which cooks slightly differently, and we're going to talk about that in a sec because we're going to do a reverse seared of a Côte de Boeuf, which is a steak on the bone. And all the supermarkets are actually undercutting everything by about £5 a kilo. So you can actually buy a really good steak for about 15 or 20 quid, which is really good value.
Wow.
Really, really good value.
OK.
So let's just talk about sirloin first. A ribeye, you don't need to do anything with it. A sirloin, you do.
OK.
It's got friends and enemies. There's the piece of meat. It's got the fat across the top.
Nice.
Underneath that fat, there's a bit of sinew. That connective tissue is the only thing on a piece of meat that will shrink. Meat cooks, fat renders or melts. The only bit that shrinks is that bit of sinew. Now, that bit of sinew, if you let it shrink while it's attached to the actual steak, it will act like a rubber band around a sponge, and all the moisture will come out.
Right, OK.
So, sharp knife, just from the top, you cut all the way through. Go on, talk to me.
Question, John.
Yes?
What temperature should you let the meat get to? Because you should take it out of the packet, shouldn't you?
Before you cooked it.
OK, I'm going to talk about rules in a second.
OK.
OK, we're
Just
almost
calm
there.
down.
We're
I know,
almost
we're
there.
just excited.
I'm going to start about the rules. So
basically, cutting that sinew just simply like this will stop that
the shrinking
band effect.
Now, here's the rules. Here's the 3 rules. Take your steaks out of the oven. I'll wash my hands in a second, everybody. Don't worry about it. There's 3 rules to cooking a steak. First thing is to take the meat out of the fridge a good hour before you want to cook it.
An hour. Okay.
Leave it like this. Blood won't come out. Don't worry about it. Second rule is always hot pan on the stove, nothing in it. Third rule, oil the steak, not the pan.
Yes.
So otherwise your oil will burn. So oil on your steak. So I'm going to do a ribeye and a sirloin about the same time. And then once you've oiled it, then you season it. If you put salt on the beef before you put the oil on, it will draw the moisture out and make your steak dry. Double the amount of seasoning you think is necessary, everybody, because your seasoning is going to cook. Pepper comes alive with heat. It needs the heat. Now, this is where the sizzle starts.
Yeah.
And it's got to make a noise. The best things in the world make a noise. Now, once we've done that, then we're going to oil it again. A little bit of oil on here.
Yeah.
And then you can start to
So again, you're still oiling the steak, not the pan.
Not the pan. Salt and pepper. Now, this searing action is about 2 minutes on each side, and then you can start to turn the heat down. Let me just wash my hands.
OK.
The thing about... Sorry.
Do you ever render the fat first, or do you put it straight on?
Thick piece of meat like this doesn't need to. The fat will render.
Fine.
By cutting it like we've done, you're going to see in a second how it's been cooked.
Great.
But also here, the big thing is now don't touch it.
As tempting as that is
It's
sometimes.
so tempting because you want to have a look, you want to...
Yeah.
The thing is, it's going to tell you when it's ready to turn over.
Goes quiet?
Yeah. A reaction between water and oil...
I remember him telling me that before.
There's a reaction between water and oil. The water in the beef, the moisture in the beef, the oil, it's basically an explosion. And so as soon as that really stops, and we've got that lovely sizzle, the sizzle's sort of stopping now, and that sizzling is starting to stop. And around the edges, you'll start to see it browning quite nicely.
Yeah.
So this ribeye, I will cook to medium. Temperature's very simply, rare at 50, 55 for medium rare, 58 to 60 for medium, and then 70 for well done. And use a probe. Got colour on the outside, take that up, and you'll see on that sirloin what's happening. Those little bits are starting to move and shrink because they're kind of like little teeth, which means the little bits are there and it's not making that steak shrink. You keep that cooking, turn the heat down, and away you go.
Just again, 2 minutes on that side.
2 minutes on that side, then you can turn it a couple more times.
Keep an eye.
In a thick state like that's going to take about 8 to 10 minutes.
OK.
Let's get rid of this for a second.
Do you still do that thing where you touch your thumb or anything like that? You know that thing where it's like, is it rare, is it medium? Aha!
I don't need to.
Trusty thermometer.
And I tell you what, for Father's Day present, or boys or girls or whatever, even Valentine's Day, there's these amazing probes now you put inside the meat and it's attached to your phone and it tells you when it's ready and it's all done remotely. So right now...
You've got an app for it?
Huh?
There's an app for
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Sounds up your alley.
It really does.
Yeah, perfect. They're brilliant. They're not cheap, everybody, but they're a really good little prezi.
They do work.
So now, once you've done that, we've got colour on both sides. We'll let it cook a little bit more. And every so often just check it, but you'll see that and peppers come alive. With that juice, we're going to make a sauce. But let's talk about this reverse seared first. Imagine you go to the butcher, you've got a hunk of meat, which is a kilo. Here it is.
Oh, the smell.
Here we go. Got a kilo of meat in here.
This is a Côte de Boeuf.
Côte de Boeuf, fail-safe way to cook it. It's been in the oven at 125 degrees for just on an hour. It's been seasoned first. Yeah, 125 degrees, so it's low temperature.
Because it's low, yeah.
Then what you do is basically you take a really, really hot pan and you reverse sear it.
Because Donal gave Paddy a Côte de Boeuf at the weekend because they were doing like this Eurovision thing, and so we've got one sitting in our fridge. So I'm watching you so closely, John.
Good.
So that's reverse searing. So you put it in an hour,
Hour and 120.
and then bring it back to here.
Yeah, and now let's just talk about why we sear beef and what we're doing here. Beef contains protein. Sugar has caramel. Sugar turns to caramel, that's the brown colour. Protein comes, it's brown, and that's called Maillard reaction. Without that browning, there's no flavour. A piece of raw meat, like a piece of raw fish, doesn't taste it very much. Once you sear it and you get that colour on the outside, that's where the flavour comes from. So the flavour's really important. But you see what's going on with this piece of beef here, look.
Wow, yeah, look at the difference
The
in
sinew,
that.
and see how it's like shrunk?
Yeah.
But your steak should always be the same size when it comes out of the pan as it was when it went in the pan. Now, sauce. The juices from the pan from before, some green peppercorns into a pot. Green peppercorns you can use as well. Crush half of them. Into the pan and let them fry a little bit.
This is the peppercorn sauce you're making for
There's
us.
a peppercorn sauce. Right. Once that comes up a little bit, let that fry, and then we're going to use brandy and we're going to use some cream. But what I do with the steak, whilst it's at this stage now, is now I want to have a little bit more flavour.
Going to baste it.
So I put a little bit of butter in.
What?
Just a little bit of butter.
Look at how naughty he looks as he's putting it in.
He really does.
Just a little bit.
All I know is that the crew are really going to be very, very happy.
Look at they're all nodding.
Now the sauce. So it starts to bubble.
Yeah.
Add some brandy.
Yeah.
The brandy starts to make all the oils and butter come together. Let that cook down a bit. And I think we're almost ready to cut ourselves some steak. So
Wow.
we're going to take this. Oh, I'll probably get in trouble because I used that for raw. I won't. Sirloin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see how the fat's made.
Delicious.
We've got that. Now, the important thing here is, could you pass me that big plate, please? OK. For me, the best way to serve a steak is as simple as possible. Chips on the bottom. And
So that
steaks,
the sauce goes on.
the juice of the steak goes through it. So I had this thing years ago where I went to this place and they had a roast chicken. Now, there's my sauce. Look how happy you are. Add your cream.
Just looking at each other going...
Cream to the sauce. Give it a little swirl around. I'm going to turn that one off. That's ready to go. Here. Now, I'm going to take that little Côte de Boeuf. Remember how big that was? So now, here we go. I'm going to take these, and these have been resting nicely. Thank you. I just want to show you a trick with a bit of lettuce in a second. I've got to show you this trick.
Yeah.
That's really good. Because I love a lettuce salad, and I think a lettuce salad here is really important because you want that full fresh lettuce.
Fresh.
So now, when you cut the steak, just slide your knife underneath it, pick it all up as one. Put across the top of your chips, and that's about medium. Do that same there. I'm going to do this one really quickly, but I just want to show you this Côte de Boeuf.
Yeah.
OK, so now...
Is there a special way you should slice, John? Or...
Just slice it. Look, it's absolutely perfect. Now, usually I would always rest the steak for as long as I cook it for. I'm going to cut that there, like, so you guys can have some. I'm going to put that on top of there. That's
quite hot.
Asbestos fingers.
My little sauce. I want to show you this. I know I've only got 10 seconds left, but I want to show you this lettuce. Right. Lettuce, guys.
Yes.
You've got an iceberg lettuce.
I love an iceberg.
Cut it into wedges when you do it, but I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it. Take the thing, hit the bench with it. Take this, and then the core comes out. Once you've done that, then you get yourself a sharp knife, cut it into wedges, and you got a wedge salad. And all I do is bring that over. If you bring that over to us, Ben, that would be great. And then what you've got is just some Parmesan cheese and a little bit of olive oil. That's all you need to do. And then I'm just going to cut you little bits like this. What I'm going to do now for the crew, I'm going to cut little tiny bits because I know what's going to happen otherwise is people are going to try and take whole bits home for their lunch.
Oh!
Is that good or is that good?
It just melts.
Now, the best thing to do here, if you've got juice on your board, is this. Take your chips and just squash them slightly into the...
the noise that Perry just made.
There you go. And then a little tiny... Try a little sauce on that. Here we go. Put a little bit of sauce in there for you. I say happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Of course, everything will be online, including temperatures, all that sort of thing, weights, how to do it easily.
Fine.
But, yeah, there you go. Those steaks are cooked in 10 minutes, so...
If you get any text messages from me, please answer, because I'll be doing my cote de boeuf and I'll be having a question for you.
The details, as John's saying, of all this is on the app. Hello. This free this morning. Thanks for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.